So Callum Smith will challenge Artur Beterbiev for the unified light heavyweight titles this weekend. Smith and his whole team have been talking very confidently, as you would expect from a challenger, particularly as promoter Eddie Hearn, who says that not only is Smith going to beat Artur Beterbiev, but he's going to knock him out cold. Does Eddie Hearn really believe that, or is this just hype talk? Does Callum Smith have a realistic chance in this fight? Well, let's look at it. So Callum Smith does have some advantages on his side. He's the taller guy, he's got a longer reach, he's younger by 5 years, he's experienced. Not that Beterbiev isn't experienced, but I'm just talking about some plus points for Callum Smith here. He's been in with the likes of Canelo Alvarez, obviously at 168 in a losing effort over 12 rounds. He's fought John Ryder. His best win was over George Groves, again at 168. Since stepping up to 175, the idea is that he's much stronger, hits harder, isn't as dehydrated, and he was a massive fighter at 168. Still looks massive at 175. But again, the idea is that he's going to be better at 175. Now, Artur Beterbiev is a long-reigning champion now. I think this is his 8th or 9th title defense. It might be his 9th title fight, but 8th title defense. So, long-reigning champion, even though he's only 19-0, 19 KOs. Obviously, he was moved very quickly, was fast-tracked when he turned pro because he was so experienced in the amateurs. Of course, he famously has a win over Alexander Usyk in the amateurs. So, long-reigning champion. He's also been in with very good opposition. His best win, I would say, was over Alexander Gvozdyk. That was back in 2019. Managed to stop him in 10 rounds. Very, very good win there. And he's fought the likes of Marcus Brown, of course, Joe Smith Jr., Anthony Yarde in his last fight. He fought Gabriel Campillo, who was useful back in the days. Some of the guys like Tavoris Cloud, who are former champions, so on and so forth. Now, Beterbiev had some issues in his last fight against Anthony Yarde, but Yarde has certain attributes that Callum Smith doesn't have, such as foot speed. Smith is not the most nimble guy you've ever seen. Anthony Yarde moves around the ring faster, is more fluid than Callum Smith. Callum Smith has certainly got the experience in Anthony Yarde, amateur and pro. Callum Smith is also a good counterpuncher. That's one thing I forgot to mention in his upside. He's a good counterpuncher, Callum Smith. You go back and watch that George Groves fight, it's counterpunches that actually win him the day. He has skills, but I just think he's too stiff and robotic, too predictable, too textbook to be able to really capitalize on Artur Beterbiev's mistakes. You see, it was the fluidity and it was the mobility of Anthony Yarde that I think threw Artur Beterbiev off a little bit. He was walking in without much head movement because Beterbiev doesn't move his head that well. And Yarde was able to catch him with check left hooks and stuff like that, stun him a few times. Okay, obviously Beterbiev managed to come through in the end and get Anthony Yarde out of there. With Callum Smith, as I say, he's a more textbook fighter. He's more predictable. Artur Beterbiev will have seen stand-up, tall, strong fighters like Callum Smith a million times in his amateur career. Never mind in the pros. He will have seen it a million times in the amateurs because fighters in the old Eastern Bloc were typically like that. Stand up, good jab, solid fundamentals, nothing too spectacular, no special effects. Obviously, you got the likes of Lomachenko and Alexander Usyk who break that mold, but I'm talking about traditionally, back in the days. Artur Beterbiev is nearly 40. He doesn't come from a younger generation, okay? So anyway, Beterbiev, while he doesn't move his head that well, while he can be somebody that gets lured into traps, I'm not sure that Callum Smith is going to be the guy to do it. I think that Artur Beterbiev may have some issues with Callum Smith a little bit early on. Smith has got a decent jab. Again, he's got the height and reach, but he doesn't use the height and reach particularly well. I think it's because of his lack of speed and lack of fluidity. That allows opponents to walk him down quick and so on. Yeah, I think Artur Beterbiev is going to break Callum Smith down, and I think he'll either win on points quite comfortably or he'll stop him somewhere around the 9th round. There may be moments where Callum Smith has success. There may be moments where he catches Artur Beterbiev with nice counters. I mean, again, Eddie Hearn must be thinking about when Callum Johnson dropped Artur Beterbiev. Callum Johnson, to me, to my way of looking at it, is a more dynamic fighter than Callum Smith. A little bit similar to Anthony Yarde in that he was somewhat explosive. He was somewhat unpredictable and unorthodox at times. Whereas with Callum Smith, I don't really see that. Not that he can't surprise you with a counterpunch here and there, but his construct is so conventional. It's something that Beterbiev will have seen a million times over. Now, with all that being said, Artur Beterbiev at the age of 38, you do wonder when Father Time is going to catch up with him, because it's going to happen sooner or later. He's not going to be able to go on indefinitely as champion, obviously. Even if he doesn't fight Dmitry Bivol, there's going to come a point where Artur Beterbiev is just too old to remain at the elite level at 175 pounds. Is it this fight here against Callum Smith? I suspect not. Perhaps I'll be proven wrong. Smith and his team are obviously going to be trying to do that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. The punches to watch out for Callum Smith in terms of what he can implement in the fight: his jab, his left hook in particular as a counter, his right hand to a lesser extent, but he's got a good right hand too. He throws good uppercuts. With Artur Beterbiev, he's got a good jab himself, and Beterbiev isn't exactly Dmitry Bivol on his feet, but he's got pretty quick feet when he wants to use them. We saw that in the Joe Smith Jr. fight. He got up on his toes, he was moving around the ring, and we've seen that earlier on in his career as well. So I actually think Beterbiev's going to have the foot speed advantage in this fight. If he wants to move around, he can. He's got a good jab. And Callum Smith, even though he's got long arms, he's trained himself through years and years and years of working on his technique to shorten his punches up close. But they won't be as short as Beterbiev shots. He's a shorter guy. He's just under 6 feet tall. He might be, at least 3 inches, maybe 4 inches shorter than Callum Smith. He throws very compact shots. He's got a good variety of punches, hooks, straight shots, uppercuts, good body puncher. In fact, I think that whoever wins the battle of the jabs and the battle of the body punches will probably win the day in this fight. I just think it's going to be Artur Beterbiev rather than Callum Smith. I've got Beterbiev winning this fight, maybe 9th round TKO, if not a comfortable points decision. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Artur Beterbiev versus Callum Smith this weekend. How do you see it? Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.